Today, we're going to talk about ancient flour, modern flour, and the nutritional benefits of freshly milled flour. Have you ever wondered about the nutrients in store bought flour? Have you wondered about why grains are deemed so unhealthy now and why you should limit your intake? Yet our ancestors thrived on grains. I'm going to take you through what flour used to be and what it is now. Hundreds and thousands of years ago, it really was a simpler way of life. Wheat was threshed and the berries were stored. When you needed flour for bread, you ground the wheat berries down into a powder, and there was your flour. That may have been done at the home using stones, or as time went on and mills began operation, you would take your wheat berries to the mill to be ground into flour. Storing wheat berries was relatively easy to do, and wheat berries will stay fresh for a very long time, even years, when stored correctly. A wheat berry has three main parts: bran, endosperm, and the germ. When wheat berries are ground into flour and used immediately, all three parts are ground together, and all the vitamins and minerals found in those three parts are still found in the flour. Fresh milled flour contains 40 of the 44 necessary nutrients for our bodies. These nutrients begin to die out very quickly after milling, and the majority of the nutrients are lost after a few days of being milled. This was not an issue in early times because they were only milling small amounts at a time for what they needed right away. For hundreds and thousands of years, humans were consuming highly nutritious bread, a bread that was filling and would keep you satisfied throughout the day with a slice here and there. So, what happened? The Industrial Revolution in the United States ran from the late 1700s until about the mid 1800s. The demand for flour started to grow. People wanted flour ground and ready to go in their home. Many people lived far from mills, and it was not efficient to go to the local mill once a week to have their wheat ground into flour. It became apparent that freshly ground flour was going rancid after a while, and it was discovered that the fat content of the germ was causing this. Oils are present in the germ, and they would cause the flour to go bad. It was then discovered that after grinding, the germ could be separated and sifted out of the rest of the flour. This was the key discovery needed to open the door for grinding and sifting flour, which would create a flour that could be stored for longer periods of time. Whole wheat flour bought today contains the bran and endosperm. White all purpose flour is just the endosperm. During the Industrial Revolution, with a type of steel roller mill, they learned how to separate all parts and create this almost pure looking white flour. It was pretty, it stored well, and it was in demand. The original stone mills began to close up and the steel roller mills took over. So, what nutrients are in each part of the wheat berry, and what nutrients were lost when this separation process began? Well, the endosperm contains protein, carbohydrates, and some B vitamins. The bran contains some proteins and the most significant amounts of B vitamins. The germ contains a good amount of fat and a large amount of B vitamins and trace minerals. When the grain mills separate out the bran and germ, a significant loss of nutrients is happening. The B vitamins are lost, trace minerals, and a nutritious fat source. While the endosperm does contain some nutrients, it is high in carbohydrates and is much more starchy than anything. This starchy flour is what is found in the grocery stores today, labeled as all purpose flour. The endosperm has its purpose, it's not to be bashed on. However, the endosperm needs to be ground up with the bran and germ for the human body to best digest grain as a whole. It wasn't long into the separation milling process that society began to see problems, major health problems. Nutrient deficiency diseases became apparent. Two examples are beriberi and pellagra, both of which are vitamin B complex deficiencies. Anemia was also on the rise. It wasn't hard to connect the dots, and the community members began asking the millers to grind the wheat berries whole again and stop separating. Money talks, however, and the millers had made a good fortune on selling the separated bran and germ to other markets. And so instead of grinding the wheat whole again, they began to fortify the endosperm all purpose flour with the nutrients necessary to combat the diseases. This is where fortified flour comes in and what is on the grocery store shelves today. Bleaching flour also came about too, as people preferred a very crisp, clean, pure, white looking flour. Fortifying the flour with necessary nutrients helped combat the nutrient deficient diseases. People gaining their health back was a good thing. The problem is that none of this is natural. Everything that is added into flour today to fortify it is not natural, it's chemically derived. When you are grinding wheat berries whole and using the flour immediately, you are getting the nutrients your body needs in its most natural form. There is positive news to all who are interested in baking with whole grains. The last decade or so seems to have really stirred a change, and people are demanding that they know where their food comes from, how it is raised, and what's all in it. The great thing about grinding whole grains is that you can do it relatively easy in your home. You can purchase a hand crank grinder, which will most likely need to be mounted somewhere in your kitchen. These can take a lot of muscle to grind the wheat berries, but they are obviously a great choice for a more preparation minded individual or family because they require no electricity. The most popular choice currently are electric grain mills that fit nicely on your countertop or can be stored in a cabinet. There are also some attachments that can go on certain brands of mixers that will grind grain. Now, let's talk about the two things that you need to get started on milling your own grain. So, now that we've talked about the history of flour, what flour is like today on the grocery store shelves, we know that freshly milled flour is packed with nutrients, and we know that it can be done easily in our homes today. So, let's talk about the two basic things that you need to get started. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to need is obviously the grain mill. A grain mill is a financial investment. They are not cheap. And so because of that, I know that you're going to do your research. And I will tell you right now that you're going to come upon two that seem to outweigh all of the rest. And it's going to be mock mill and Nutrimil. We have the mock mill. We got the mock mill 100. And to be honest, the only reason that I chose mock mill over Nutrimil is because before I purchased, I did join a milling Facebook group and just did a general search of what's the best grain mill to get started with. And the mock mill seemed to outweigh the Nutrimil, but there was plenty of positive comments about the Nutrimil as well. So my own personal opinion is that whichever one you choose, you're going to be okay. I don't think you're going to go wrong with the mock mill or the Nutrimil. I will link mine below. I do know that milling is becoming more popular, and I've had mine for almost 3 years, and it was back ordered when I ordered. So I would not be surprised if there's back order today. And I do believe the price has gone up as well. But again, mock mill or Nutrimil, you're not going to go wrong with either one. Okay, so the second thing that you're going to want to get started with milling your own flour in your home is the wheat berries. I order my wheat berries from Azar Standard. We have a drop close to our house, so it's very convenient to get them from there. But there are other places that you can order them from as well. But I will go ahead and link Azar below, and you can check that out. I plan on making a video soon about wheat berries and the different kinds. Just wheat berries itself could be a 30 to 40 minute video. So I'm going to keep it very simple today and talk to you about the two main kinds that I think you should buy to get started. So let's go. Okay, so the two types of wheat berries that I think you should purchase to get started is hard white wheat. You don't see the word white on here. hard white wheat and soft white wheat. And I believe personally that those are going to be the two easiest for you to get started, because fresh milled flour is an adjustment. It does take some time. It is a journey. So hard white wheat, I believe, is going to be the one that the flavor will be different, obviously, than all-purpose flour, but it's not going to be very dramatic, like if you were to use hard red wheat. So here is the hard wheat, and here's the soft wheat, and you can see the differences in the two. So what are you going to use them for? Why do you need hard and soft? A hard wheat is going to be used for things that you're baking that have a rise on them. So we're talking something that you're using commercial yeast on, or sourdough. So your regular bread, cinnamon rolls, just anything that needs a rise to it. Hard wheat has a higher protein content in it, and so that's what you need to help build that gluten structure. Soft wheat is what you would use more for baking cookies, baking brownies, baking muffins. I will give a disclaimer here that when I use soft wheat for treats like that, cookies, brownies, and muffins, my family doesn't tend to flock to them as much. They have no trouble eating the things that I use hard wheat in. I'm not sure if it's just, I don't know why. So when I bake sweet treats, I often do a mix of fresh milled flour from soft wheat, and I still use all-purpose flour in there as well. You just have to do what works for your family. Any amount of fresh milled flour that you're getting into your baked items is putting in nutrients that wouldn't normally be there from the store. So those are the two types of wheat berries that I would get started with. Like I said, in the future, I'm going to have a video that goes over all different kinds. Red, hard red wheat, spelt, rye, all sorts of different ones. But that's what I would use if I was a beginner getting started. In the beginning of this video, when I was talking about the nutritional benefits of freshly milled flour, what you saw me baking and working on was cinnamon rolls made with 100% freshly milled flour. The recipe that I use is from lovelybellbakes.com, which I will link below as well. This is one of those recipes that I can make early morning or mid-morning, and it will be gone by the time we go to bed. It is soft, it is fluffy, you would never be able to tell the difference. I think this is a great recipe for you to get started with, and it will be a great selling point for you and your family to go ahead and jump into freshly milled grains. So if you're thinking about it, this is me telling you to go for it and start with this recipe, because you are going to love it.